play music or the journey of any musician, all of us will probably have to agree that there are about 3 phases in one's life. We start from being inspired through some source. We could have been born in a musical family or any such thing, or we may have learned music from somewhere, or we could have gone to YouTube or some such thing. The next phase, I guess, in a musician's career or journey is to learn how to play it, or to choose an instrument or choose a tool which creates this music and learn how to play it. And then finally, after a while, once you've played a bit, you get into the process of creating music. So I guess that's the 3rd phase. So what I'm going to do is, in today's talk at MSRIT, is to run you through stuff which has happened in my journey, and then try and show you that music is quite logical. You don't have to, you don't really, as this says, you don't really have to be born with a gift. So I'm going to try and talk about that right now. So starting with inspiration, I was born in a musical family, and I was lucky enough to be part of a church singing group or a church choir, and that, according to me, that got me started into music. And it was quite a rich culture, and it was quite an awesome tradition as well, because you would have all the layers of music filling in as you sing in a group. You're of course part of the choir, but you also look at yourself as part of the entire picture as well, or the whole. So what I learned in a choir was melody, I learned harmony, I learned rhythm, I learned that various sound sources could interact together and sound good, sound pleasant. And then I also learned a bunch of rules along the way. After that happened, I joined college. Throughout my schooling, I didn't quite play music as much as I should have, been born in a musical family and all. But when I joined college, something really changed. There was this inter-class or inter-college competition. It was an instrumental competition, and I was asked to play something by my friends. So I could play a little bit of guitar. So I learned the lead part, or a little bit of Hotel California. That was the popular song at that time. And I tried learning it. I spent about 3 or 4 weeks learning that song. Again, using my ears, watching a few friends playing from church, from school, from college, and so on. So after having learned that entire song, I somehow decided to listen to Sultans of Swing by Dire Straits. I'm sure you all have heard that song. And something happened. I heard the guitar part. I thought, why don't I try this? I tried it on the guitar, I failed. And then I tried it on the piano. And for some reason, it just happened. And this was the night before the competition. All that pressure and all that. But it just happened on the piano. So I guess I attribute that to a lot of watching. So because I've not really learned music by the book, not gone to a college, or not done many exams. So I think it all happened by watching my mom, watching my granddad, watching these people playing, and it just hit me. All of a sudden I could play the piano. And I realized that in college, and things went on. And then after a while, I've always been an observer. I've always believed in observing and analyze something before I play it, which is then where I reached composition, where I thought, why can't I try creating music? And when I started it off, I was always trying to ape others. I was always trying to look for inspiration somewhere. But I realized when you create, you have to start from a clean slate. So what I have been doing over the past few years, I guess over the past 5 years, is look at music as a sport. It's as simple as that. Just look at it as a bunch of rules and regulations, which I'm going to share with you, and hope you take something out of this talk. So this is the first thing I guess we can all realize when we deal with music. There is rhythm, there is melody, and there is harmony. Rhythm is anything to do with making someone dance, or tap their feet or clap their hands or whatever. Melody is whenever you play sounds sequentially, and harmony is when you play sounds together. So with that basic knowledge, I believe one can play music. So where does this all start? As musicians, we interact with these things called notes. A note is any musical sound given to us which we play on some instrument. So there are three ways of playing a note, or the three ways to analyze a note, I guess. A note can either be pressed, like that. It can be pressed, and then some instruments have the ability to hold it for a little longer, like the piano. And then you even have instances where you don't have to do anything at all. You don't have to hit anything. Sounds quite good, right? So after we figure out what a note is, you have to figure out what to do with these sounds, because it has to eventually sound like music. So this is pretty much what I think one can do with a note, and I think we all agree with this. You can either play a note loud or soft, right? You can play it long or short, right? You can also play notes high and low, and so on. And then, as I talked about earlier, you can play them together or you can play them one after the other. But the main rule we tend to follow in music is timing. Everything has to add up to something. So that's where we look at simple maths, right? So all we have to do, all what a musician generally tends to do, is add up numbers. It adds up to something which we define. It's sort of a clock which we make, which we create in our minds before we start playing. And once that clock is created, it's set. So this is how you can actually use notes to make music. The first approach is the mathematical approach, which I'm going to talk about. The second approach is the emotional approach, where you're trying to dabble with human emotion to create sounds which appeal to that emotion. And then finally, there always needs to be some kind of pattern, something which a common listener can remember, right? We all live with patterns. We all need a pattern, right? So this is what we do with our notes. And moving on now to how we can play all this. We have rhythm, and the way I'd like to explain rhythm is to look at it on a grid, to look at everything on a grid. And you have two things which you can do. You can play something high, you can play something low. You could then decide how many tasks you want to achieve at a certain time. Do you want to play one task? Do you want to play multiple tasks, or two, or whatever? So these are the things you decide before you start playing your song. So this is pretty much how we normally do it, using the textbook or the notation approach. It's very cool because, as I have written there, it's a universal language. So whether you know English or Hindi or whatever, or whether your other colleague from another country doesn't know it, it doesn't matter. When someone reads this, they can play music, right? This is a method which I have used time and again to play music. I've set a grid for myself. So the grid could be, in this case, all the grids are 4. And I've just put a tick mark wherever I want to play something, wherever I want to play a musical sound. And since I'm a piano player, I don't have to get into the problem of learning how to create a sound. The sounds are already made for me, right? I'm not a singer where I have to train myself, learn how to sing, do a bunch of exercises. Nothing like that's really required. So all I figured out was, you have these sounds which you are allowed to play on a grid, and then there are some sounds where you don't need to play them at all. And some sounds can linger on, they can sustain, and some sounds can cut at their very occurrence. So I'm just going to demonstrate a few of these things right now very quickly. So if I want to play 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm I'm going to choose my left hand to do the 1, my right hand to do the 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So to get more interesting results, instead of just counting 1, 2, 3, 4, what I then thought of doing was dividing the beat. You can go into subdivision. So you can have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you follow what I played there, part number 3, you'll realize it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You saw what I was able to do? I was able to get inside the beat as well. But remember, inside a beat is like, initially in school we learned 2 plus 2 is 4. And then we learned 1.5 plus 2.5 is also 4. Right? So that's the same analysis here. And then we get into the 0.25s and the 0.75s in the next row. Right? Where music sounds more interesting, as I'll play for you now. 1, 2, right? So it just starts dividing itself more, it sounds more interesting. So this is about rhythm. So for me, rhythm was all about mathematics, logic. You decide to have something at a particular point, or you don't have something at a particular point. What about emotion? Because at the end of the day, music is something which gives us emotion. So that's where melody and harmony come together, right? To start off with, I'm just going to play you perhaps 3 notes together, and can you compare the 2 emotions? And I'm going to play you 2 sets of 3 notes. So which one was sadder? What? Second one, right? Okay. So I'm going to play a sad one now. So what was the next sound like? Tense. Horror movie. Scary. Dark. Okay. What about this sound? Was just choose 3 notes, 3 musical sounds which didn't cause confusion or chaos with each other. Rather, they added harmony with each other, right? Or they blended very peacefully with each other. No, not something like this, right? I didn't use that right now. So these are the tools which everyone has used, from Bach to me, to everyone really. So it's quite simple, and emotion also, if you look at it, it's quite easy to generate emotion. You just have to figure out which one produces a happy sound, a sad sound. If you're writing a song with a lot of happy thoughts and expressions, use more of the happy sounds. If you're writing songs which are more depressing, when it comes to composing, you have to generally try and link up something which is logical and mathematical with something emotional, and you can definitely produce quite a few good results. So if you've been playing your musical instruments for a few years, you can still start writing songs right now with this approach, I'm sure. So now coming to putting it all together. So I've been playing piano for a while. So there are some songs which I've written which in my mind I'm thinking about 4 or 5 or 6 different musical ideas. It then gets down to my fingers to create all these ideas, right? So since I'm a pianist who normally plays with a band, I think you guys will have to be the band now. So I'm going to play something for you, and then after playing this, let's try and get into an interactive session. There are 3 groups here, so all of you have to do something. not over. Feel free to clap or something. 2, 3, 4. This group, can you do this? Can't hear you. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, don't stop. Just go. You guys have to be the loudest. Okay? Coming to the other group. And girls could go. Do that as well. Coming to this section.